Hello there. Thanks for taking the time to click on this video. And if you clicked on this video, you want to learn how to cast one of these a little bit further and a little bit better than you are today. Trust me, I have been where you are at right now. You make a cast and all the line just kind of stacks up in front of you, or it doesn't get any distance at all, or it just literally falls apart right at your feet, or you can't get any line out at all. Well, I'm going to give you some pointers in this video to help you improve the distance and improve your cast, because there are a few things that I know if you start doing, because as soon as I started doing them, holy smokes, it was a big change for me when it came to fly fishing. A lot of the frustration just kind of went out the window once I started doing these few tips that I'm going to show you. I've been casting one of these for about 35 years now, so hopefully I can fast forward you into just a more efficient caster after you watch this video. So that's the goal of this video. So the first thing we're going to talk about is, how do you hold the fly rod? Hold the fly rod with your thumb on the top of the cork or your forefinger. I prefer my thumb just because it just feels more natural. Your thumb gives you a little extra leverage when it's time to cast. Now, the next thing you want to do, and this is the most common mistake that new fly casters make, is that you don't take out enough line to start the cast. Just having your tapered leader out is not enough, right? You want to pull out a full rod length of floating line beyond the tip of your fly rod. So you can see right here, I've got a full length of line from the very tip of my fly rod to where the tapered leader starts. That's super important. Otherwise, it's impossible really to start building line speed. So before you even start casting, do that. And now you want to take out a little bit of line, right? Because if you want to reach 20, 30 feet, you need enough floating line out to support that. That's going to be sitting on the ground. Not to worry, normal, right? That's normal things. So the first thing we're going to talk about is the rod arc. Now for new fly casters, if you keep kind of a 10-2 cadence, right? A lot of new fly casters, and when I did early on, I went way too far back on my back cast and I was going way too far forward on my forward cast. And that was really kind of, it's not making a very efficient loop, right? Things have a tendency to kind of stack up against you. Maybe even you're catching the line on the way through. But having an appropriate rod arc is really critical when you first start casting. 10-2 is a great mental fortitude to have when you're starting to cast. And that way, you're not going to go too far back on a back cast or too far forward when you're starting out. The next thing I want you to see what I'm doing is that I'm going nice and slow, right? It's not a matter of going how fast you can do it. It's a nice, even, slow cadence. You have to wait for all that fly line to extend out behind you before bringing it forward. And it's okay to look back there too. So wait for it to fully extend and then bring it forward. If you're hearing that whipping sound, that means you've brought the rod forward too quickly. The next is kind of the casting dynamics, right? Notice when I'm going back, it's a nice, smooth cadence, right? It's a nice, smooth rhythm, but I'm doing a kind of a hard stop, hard stop, hard stop, hard stop, right? When you hard stop, that transfers all the energy that your fly rod has built up into the fly line. So that makes a big difference, right? So nice, you see how it's kind of nice and slow? And I kind of finish my rotation a little bit with my wrist. Watch my wrist. You can kind of see it going back. I'm moving my wrist ever so slightly to kind of finish the rotation. But notice how nice and easy this cadence is, right? I'm waiting for the line to fully extend out. Okay, the next tip I'm going to give you is something that I do that works for me, and you may find that it works for you as well. And that's the rod position when you're casting. So we talked about the arc. There's some fly casters that like to have the rod more parallel to the person's body. I prefer my fly rod to be almost at a 45-degree angle for my body. And the reason why is I have really limited my fly strikes by keeping the rod away from my body. So let me kind of get back in the water and demonstrate here. So because the fly rod is at a 45-degree angle, right, I am keeping the fly away from my body. This works for me, may work for you as well, but you just really reduce the fly strikes because the fly is way away from your body and it's not going to come back and hit you in the face, which is never a good idea. All right, so another pro tip when you're fly fishing is wear glasses, because you just never know, right? You want to have glasses on whenever possible. Even though I have a casting stroke that tries to keep the fly away from my eyes, inevitably maybe a gust of wind comes by, blows the fly towards my face. If I have glasses on, it's just going to bounce off my glasses versus getting into my eye. So for safety, it is a really good idea to have glasses on whenever you're fly fishing. All right, so one of the goals when you're casting is you want to create a nice tight loop. You saw me doing that earlier. That is just an efficient way to deliver the fly line and to deliver the fly, is if you have a nice tight loop. That's cutting through the wind, right? That is creating the inertia that cuts it through the wind and wherever it is you're trying to cast. Hope that makes sense. And there's another tip I want to show you that really works with doing that, and that's keeping a straight line path to the tip of your fly rod. When you're casting, you don't want to be doing this to where your rod's just kind of going all over the place. Kind of pretend like there's a wall right next to you, right? And you want to keep a nice straight line path to the tip of the fly rod. Try not to open up your wrist like this on the back, because you'll notice how the rod kind of turns. You're not going to have a very efficient loop if you do that. You might even create a tailing loop. So really try to keep a straight line path to the tip of your fly rod. So best way to do that early on is watch it. Even I still have a habit of sometimes of kind of turning my wrist on the back cast, and that doesn't make for a very efficient loop. So remember, have a straight line path to the tip of your fly rod, and you're going to create a really nice efficient loop like this. Really nice and defined. That's what's sending the fly line through the air, right? Creating that nice efficient loop. And I'm doing that by having a good cadence. I'm waiting for the line to fully extend out behind me, and I have a straight line path to the tip of the fly rod, and I'm doing a hard stop on the back cast, hard stop on the forward cast. Makes that nice loop that you see right here. Now the next thing is, what is your non-casting hand doing? What is this hand doing? You might notice that I am always in contact with the fly line. What really stops a cast cold in its tracks is slack, right? If you allow slack to build up anywhere in the cast, it's gonna fall apart on you. So I'm always managing the line with my left hand, right? So right now, I'm not letting any go through my left hand. I'm false casting, I'm getting used to it. False casting is used to dry your fly, also to kind of gauge distance and accuracy. But you'll notice when you start fly fishing a lot, you're not going to do a lot of false casting, right? A lot of times, 1 or 2 false casts get you where you need to go. But for the sake of this tutorial, I'm going to go ahead and false cast a lot. Now, when I'm ready to deliver some more line, I'm going to let the line loose in my non-casting hand. And again, that energy that's built up in the fly rod, it's transferring into the fly line, is going to let everything just kind of sail out nice and easy. So watch what I do here. So nice, easy cadence. I got a hard stop, little bit of wrist movement. Got some body language going here too, just kind of feeling the fly rod. Now I'm ready to present. Just like that, the line came right out. So you notice on the finish, on the very presentation portion, I'm doing kind of a hard stop, and then I drop the rod all the way down to the water's edge. That's also an important part. So here we go. Cast, 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 present. Just like that, all your fly line is out. So again, watch what I'm doing. Waiting for all that line to extend out behind me. I'm letting just a little line through my left hand. And now I'm ready to present. Just like that. So that really is the basic cast. So if you think about those fundamentals, right, when you're casting your fly rod, if you take the time, be patient. That casting stroke needs to be very patient. It's not about how much power, how hard you can throw it out. That always messes up the cast. It's about just gaining confidence, practice, and just kind of leveraging your fly rod to transfer that energy. The bend of the fly rod is transferring that energy into the fly line. You're managing the line, your non-casting hand. Real easy, hardly any effort at all, right? It's not about power, it's about finesse. Now I'm ready to cast. I'm gonna let it go. Just like that. All right, a couple more tips and I'll let you go. So there's two critical things when it comes to casting a fly rod. One is that you do want to have a decent rod, right? Talk to your fly shop owner, look online, look at your trusted advisor for the best fly rod for you. But what I have found is that a medium fast action blank really is easier to cast if you're somewhat new to fly fishing. If you're brand new, you don't want to get out there with a super fast action rod. It just takes a lot more finesse and technique to get that rod to perform well. But if you have something like this, a medium fast action rod, I actually built one at fishdonrods.com. These things are really made for the new fly caster, or if somebody is, retired, they want to start fly fishing, but yet they want to put as little effort into casting as possible. A medium fast action rod that's designed to be easier to cast really is easier. The next is the fly line right here. This fly line is made by Cortland. It makes a big difference, right? Fly line really does make a big difference when fly casting. All right, so let's summarize everything again. Grip, right? You want to make sure you have the right grip. Fly line. You want to have a full length of floating line beyond the tip of your fly rod. When you start casting, nice, slow, easy cadence. Your casting arc is going no more than a 10 to 2. Your brain, right? Think 10 to 2. You want to do a hard stop, a hard stop. You're doing a little bit of shoulder, a little bit of elbow, a little bit of wrist, right? To get the fly line out. Watching it extend behind you. All right, we're ready. Presentation. And all that lines out. And a lot of times too, you don't need to cast 80 feet to catch a fish. A lot of times the fish are right here. I mean, right in front of you, to where they're no more than 20, 30 feet in front of you. So it's not absolutely necessary to bomb out a bunch of line if you're fishing a lake or your favorite stream. Oh, there we go. That's a nice fish too. Yeah, that's a good one. Oh yeah. Oh, that's a beaut. Look at that guy. Beautiful fish.